The vast expanse of space stretched out before the massive alien warship. Stars twinkled in the distance, but their peaceful light did nothing to calm the tension aboard the vessel. This was no pleasure cruise. This was war. General Zix 978 stood tall on the bridge of his starship, the Conqueror. His 4 arms were crossed over his chest, and his 3 eyes narrowed as he looked out at the battlefield before him. The general was a sight to behold, 7 feet tall, with scaly blue skin and a ridge of sharp spines running down his back. He was the pride of the Zorgan Empire, and he knew it. "Status report," he barked, his voice like gravel in a blender. A smaller alien, barely reaching the general's shoulders, scurried up to him. "Sir, our forces are holding strong on the Eastern Front. The enemy's defenses are crumbling." Zix 978 nodded, a cruel smile spreading across his face. "Excellent. These weaklings don't stand a chance against the might of the Zorgan Empire." The general turned to face his crew. They were a mix of different alien species, all united under the Zorgan banner. Some had tentacles, others had multiple heads, but all shared one thing: a fierce loyalty to their empire and their general. "Listen up, you lot," Zix 978 boomed. "We've been fighting this war for too long. It's time we showed these pitiful excuses for warriors what real power looks like." A cheer went up from the crew. They had absolute faith in their leader. After all, General Zix 978 had never lost a battle. His reputation for ruthlessness and tactical brilliance was known across the galaxy. As the cheers died down, an alarm suddenly blared through the ship. Red lights flashed, casting an eerie glow over the bridge. "What's happening?" the general demanded. A crew member with 6 eyes and green tentacles for hair spoke up. "Sir, we've detected a small enemy ship trying to sneak past our defenses." Zix 978's eyes lit up with excitement. "Ah, a foolish attempt at infiltration. Bring it down." The crew sprang into action. Buttons were pressed, levers were pulled, and the massive Conqueror turned to face the tiny intruder. Outside, in the cold vacuum of space, a small sleek ship darted between laser blasts. It was quick and agile, but it was no match for the Conqueror's superior firepower. A well-aimed shot clipped its wing, sending it spinning out of control. "Tractor beam," Zix 978 ordered. "Bring that ship in. I want to see what kind of idiot thought they could sneak past us." As the small ship was pulled into the Conqueror's docking bay, the general felt a surge of pride. This was why the Zorgan Empire was undefeated. No enemy could match their technology, their strength, or their resolve. "Prepare a welcoming committee for our guest," Zix 978 said with a smirk. "I'll be down shortly to greet them personally." As the general made his way to the docking bay, he couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. What kind of enemy would he find? A spy? A saboteur? Whatever it was, he was sure it would be no match for him. Little did General Zix 978 know, the being inside that small ship was about to change everything he thought he knew about strength, about war, and about the universe itself. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the foundations of the Zorgan Empire and rewrite the history of the galaxy. As the docking bay doors opened, revealing the smoking wreck of the enemy ship, General Zix 978 straightened his back and put on his most intimidating scowl. It was time to show this foolish enemy the true meaning of power. General Zix 978 marched into the docking bay, his heavy footsteps echoing off the metal walls. His crew scrambled to keep up with him, their various appendages working overtime. The air was thick with tension and the smell of burnt circuitry. The small enemy ship lay in the center of the bay, smoke still rising from its damaged hull. It was a pitiful sight next to the massive Zorgan vessels that surrounded it. Zix 978 smirked. This would be easier than he thought. "Open it," he commanded, pointing one of his 4 arms at the ship's hatch. 2 of his soldiers approached the ship cautiously, weapons at the ready. With a hiss of escaping air, the hatch slowly opened. The general leaned forward, eager to see his new prisoner. What emerged from the ship was unexpected. A single figure stumbled out, coughing and waving away the smoke. It was smaller than any of the aliens present, with only 2 arms and 2 legs. Its skin was a pale color, not scaled or plated like most species the general had encountered. And strangest of all, it had a tuft of fur on the top of its head. What manner of creature is this? Zix 978 demanded, his 3 eyes narrowing in confusion. The prisoner looked up, meeting the general's gaze without flinching. Its eyes were unlike any the general had seen before, filled with a determination that seemed at odds with its fragile-looking form. "Scan it," Zix 978 ordered. A soldier approached with a handheld device, waving it over the prisoner. The device beeped and whirred, but then let out a confused squawk. "Sir," the soldier said, sounding puzzled, "the scanner can't identify the species. It's unknown." Murmurs of surprise rippled through the gathered crew. An unknown species. In this day and age, it seemed impossible. Zix 978 stepped closer to the prisoner, towering over it. "Who are you?" he growled. "What species are you?" The prisoner remained silent, its strange eyes darting around the docking bay, taking in every detail. Annoyed by its silence, the general reached out and grabbed the prisoner by its single head, lifting it off the ground. "Answer me, weakling." To his surprise, the prisoner didn't cry out in pain or fear. Instead, it grabbed onto Zix 978's arm with its 2 hands, trying to pry itself free. The general was shocked by the strength in those small limbs. "Take it to the interrogation chamber," Zix 978 ordered, dropping the prisoner roughly. "We'll soon have our answers." As 2 guards dragged the prisoner away, the general turned to his second-in-command. "I want everything we have on unidentified species. Search every database. This thing could be the key to winning the war." The crew dispersed, leaving Zix 978 alone in the docking bay. He stared at the small ship, his mind racing. In all his years of conquest, he had never encountered a species he couldn't identify. It was unsettling, but exciting too. If this creature was from an unknown race, who knew what secrets it might hold? What technologies? What weaknesses to exploit? A slow, cruel smile spread across the general's face. He would uncover this mystery, and when he did, he would use it to crush his enemies once and for all. As he turned to leave, Zix 978 didn't notice the small device that had fallen from the prisoner's pocket during the scuffle. It lay blinking quietly in a dark corner of the docking bay, sending out a signal that traveled far beyond the Conqueror, out into the depths of space. A signal that said, simply, "Found them." The interrogation chamber was a dark, cold room deep within the bowels of the Conqueror. General Zix 978 stood before the strange prisoner, who was strapped to a metal chair. The general's 3 eyes glowed with an eerie light in the dimness. "Now," Zix 978 said, his voice low and menacing, "you will answer my questions." The prisoner remained silent, its 2 eyes fixed on the general with an unsettling calmness. Zix 978 circled the chair slowly, his clawed feet clicking on the metal floor. "What is your species? Where do you come from?" No response. The general felt his anger rising. He wasn't used to being ignored. With a snarl, he slammed one of his 4 hands down on the arm of the chair, mere inches from the prisoner's own arm. "Speak," he roared. The prisoner flinched slightly but still said nothing. Its eyes, however, never left the general's face. Zix 978 stepped back, his mind racing. In all his years of interrogation, he had never encountered a prisoner so resistant. It was both infuriating and intriguing. He gestured to one of his guards. "Bring in the mind probe." The guard wheeled in a large machine, covered in blinking lights and sharp probes. It was a device feared throughout the galaxy, capable of extracting thoughts and memories directly from a subject's brain. "Last chance," the general said, a cruel smile playing on his lips. "Speak, or we'll take the information we need." For the first time, a flicker of emotion crossed the prisoner's face. Was it fear? Concern? But it was gone as quickly as it appeared, replaced once again by that maddening calm. Zix 978 nodded to the guard, who began attaching the probes to the prisoner's head. The machine hummed to life, its lights pulsing faster. On a nearby screen, images began to flash. The general leaned in eagerly, ready to uncover the secrets of this strange being. But what he saw made no sense. The images were a jumble, flashing by too quickly to comprehend. Strange structures, unfamiliar landscapes, beings that looked similar to the prisoner, but in a bewildering array of colors and sizes. And then, abruptly, the machine sparked and went dark. "What happened?" Zix 978 demanded. The guard looked bewildered. I don't know, sir. It's as if the prisoner's mind overloaded the system." The general turned back to the prisoner, seeing it in a new light. This was no ordinary being. Its mental strength was unlike anything he had encountered before. "Who are you?" he asked again, but this time with a hint of wonder in his voice. The prisoner met his gaze steadily, and for the first time spoke. Its voice was soft but clear. "I am human." Zix 978 felt a chill run down his spine. Human? It couldn't be. Humans were a myth, a legend told to scare young aliens. They were said to be the most dangerous species in the galaxy, capable of incredible feats of strength and intelligence. But they had disappeared millennia ago, or so the stories said. "Impossible," the general breathed. The human's lips curved into a small smile. "Nothing is impossible." In that moment, Zix 978 realized he had made a terrible mistake. He had thought this prisoner weak, but now he understood. He wasn't facing a weak enemy. He was facing potentially the most dangerous being in the universe. As alarms began to blare throughout the ship, the general realized that the interrogation was over. But the real battle was just beginning. The alarms blared through the Conqueror, their shrill wail echoing off the metal walls. General Zix 978 stood frozen, his three eyes fixed on the human before him. The word echoed in his mind. Human. Impossible. Yet here it was. "Secure the prisoner," he barked, snapping out of his shock. Two guards rushed forward, their tentacles wrapping around the human's arms. But the human moved with unexpected speed. In a blur of motion, it slipped free of its restraints and ducked under the guard's grasp. Before anyone could react, it had snatched up a nearby tool and was holding it like a weapon. "Stop," Zix 978 roared. "Don't let it escape." More guards poured into the room, surrounding the human. But it stood calmly in the center, its strange eyes darting from one alien to another, assessing, calculating. The general raised one of his four hands, signaling his soldiers to hold their position. He needed answers, and he couldn't get them if the human was dead. "You," he said, addressing the human directly. "You claim to be human. Prove it." The human tilted its head, a curious expression on its face. "You want proof? Very well." It placed the makeshift weapon on the ground and held out its arm. "Take a sample of my DNA. That should be proof enough." Zix 978 hesitated. Could it really be that simple? He nodded to one of his science officers, who approached cautiously with a DNA scanner. The room fell silent as the scanner hummed, analyzing the human's genetic makeup. Seconds stretched into minutes. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Finally, the scanner beeped. The science officer looked at the results, his multiple eyes widening in shock. "Sir," he said, his voice trembling, "it's true. The DNA matches ancient records of human genetic structure. This is a living human." A collective gasp went through the room. Soldiers shifted nervously, some even taking a step back from the human. Legends of human ferocity and cunning raced through their minds. General Zix 978 felt a bead of sweat, or the alien equivalent, roll down his scaly back. This changed everything. Humans were supposed to be extinct, wiped out eons ago in some great calamity. Their reappearance could shift the balance of the entire galactic war. How? He demanded. How are you here? Where have your kind been hiding? The human's lips curled into a small smile. We never left, General. We've been watching, waiting, preparing. And now we're ready to rejoin the galactic stage. As if on cue, a massive explosion rocked the ship. The lights flickered, and new alarms joined the cacophony. Sir, a panicked voice came over the intercom. We're under attack. Multiple ships have just dropped out of hyperspace. They're unlike anything we've ever seen. Zix 978 rushed to a nearby viewport, the human momentarily forgotten. What he saw made his blood run cold. A fleet of sleek, powerful ships was emerging from hyperspace, their designs completely alien to him. At their center was a vessel that dwarfed even the Conqueror. Humans, he whispered, realization dawning. He turned back to the prisoner, but the human was already moving. With impossible speed and strength, it knocked aside the guards and sprinted for the door. Stop it! Zix 978 bellowed, but it was too late. The human disappeared into the corridors of the ship, leaving behind a room full of stunned aliens and a general whose world had just been turned upside down. As another explosion shook the ship, General Zix 978 realized that the war he thought he was winning had suddenly become much, much bigger. And for the first time in his long military career, he felt a flicker of fear. Chaos reigned on the Conqueror. Alarms blared, crew members rushed frantically through corridors, and the ship shuddered under the assault of the human fleet. Amidst this mayhem, General Zix 978 barked orders, trying to regain control of the situation. Find that human, he roared, and get our weapons online. But the human proved elusive. Reports flooded in from all over the ship. The prisoner had been spotted in engineering, then in the armory, then near the bridge. It moved with a speed and purpose that left the alien crew baffled. In engineering, the chief engineer stared in disbelief at his console. Sir, he called to Zix 978 over the comm. Someone's accessing our systems. They're rewriting our code. The general felt a chill run down his spine. Stop them, he ordered. I can't, the engineer replied, his voice filled with awe. Whoever's doing this, their understanding of our technology is beyond anything I've seen. It's like they know our systems better than we do. Suddenly, the lights on the bridge flickered and changed color. The main view screen came to life, showing the face of the human prisoner. But now, it wore a sleek uniform adorned with strange symbols. General Zix 978, the human said, its voice calm but authoritative. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. Your ship is now under our control. Zix 978 stared in shock. How had this single human managed to take over his entire ship in mere minutes? Impossible, he muttered. Captain Chen's lips curled into a small smile. You'll find, General, that humans specialize in the impossible. As if to prove her point, the ship's weapons suddenly powered down. The engines cut off, leaving the massive vessel drifting in space. Now, Chen continued, let's talk about ending this war. But Zix 978 wasn't ready to give up. With a roar, he lunged for the emergency controls. If he could just trigger the self-destruct sequence. His hand never reached the panel. A force field sprang to life around him, trapping him in place. Please don't do anything rash, General, Chen said, her tone almost sympathetic. We don't want any unnecessary bloodshed. The bridge doors hissed open, and Captain Chen walked in, flanked by two more humans in similar uniforms. The alien crew members backed away, their weapons useless in their hands. Chen approached Zix 978, looking up at the towering alien without a hint of fear. Your empire has been at war with the galaxy for too long, General. It's time for peace. Peace? Zix 978 spat. The Zorgan Empire does not sue for peace. We conquer. And how's that working out for you? Chen asked, gesturing to the view screen where the human fleet could be seen, easily holding off the Zorgan reinforcements. Your ships are outmatched, your weapons ineffective against our shields. And this. She waved a hand, indicating the conqueror. We took your flagship with a single operative. For the first time in his long military career, General Zix 978 felt truly defeated. This human, this species he had dismissed as weak, had outsmarted and outfought him at every turn. Who? What are you? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. Captain Chen's expression softened slightly. We are humanity, General. We've spent millennia hiding, learning, growing stronger. We've studied every species, every technology in the galaxy. And now we're ready to take our place and bring peace. As the reality of the situation sank in, Zix 978 realized that everything he thought he knew about the galaxy, about warfare, about strength, had been wrong. The true power wasn't in brute force or advanced weapons. It was in adaptability, in intelligence, in the kind of strength this human had demonstrated. And for the first time, the great General Zix 978 wondered if perhaps, just perhaps, peace might not be such a bad idea after all. The bridge of the Conqueror was eerily quiet. The usual hum of machinery was gone, replaced by the soft peeps of unfamiliar human technology. General Zix 978 stood motionless, trapped in the force field, his three eyes darting between Captain Sarah Chen and his captured crew. What now, human? Zix 978 growled, trying to maintain some semblance of dignity. Captain Chen paced slowly around the bridge, her fingers trailing over the alien consoles. Now, General, we negotiate the terms of your surrender. A ripple of shock ran through the alien crew. Surrender. The word was almost foreign to them. The Zorgan Empire had never surrendered in its long history of conquest. Suddenly, a young Zorgan officer broke ranks. With a cry of "For the Empire," he lunged at Chen, a hidden blade glinting in his hand. Time seemed to slow down. The aliens watched, expecting to see their human captor fall. But Chen moved with inhuman speed. She sidestepped the attack, grabbed the officer's arm, and in one fluid motion, disarmed him and pinned him to the ground. I wouldn't advise that, Chen said calmly, helping the stunned officer to his feet. We've evolved beyond the need for such violence. Zix 978 stared in disbelief. The human's reflexes were faster than any species he had encountered. What are you? He asked again, this time with a hint of awe in his voice. Chen turned to face him, her expression serious. We are the result of thousands of years of adaptation and evolution, General. While we hid from the galaxy, we never stopped improving ourselves. Our bodies, our minds, our technology, all have been honed to perfection. As if to demonstrate, she pulled out a small device. With a few taps, a holographic display sprang to life, showing the battle outside. The Zorgan fleet was in disarray, their mighty ships disabled or retreating. Your empire's reign of terror ends today, Chen declared. But this isn't about revenge or domination. We're here to bring balance to the galaxy. For the first time, uncertainty crept into Zix 978's voice. And if we refuse? Chen sighed, looking almost sad. Then you've already seen what we're capable of. We took your most advanced ship with ease. Imagine what our full fleet could do. The implied threat hung heavy in the air. The general's mind raced, considering options, looking for a way out. But deep down, he knew it was over. What are your terms? He finally asked, his shoulders sagging in defeat. A small smile played on Chen's lips. First, an immediate ceasefire. Then you'll order all Zorgan forces to stand down and return to your home world. And then, Zix 978 pressed. Then we talk, Chen replied. About peace, about cooperation, about the future of the galaxy. The Zorgan Empire has much to offer, General. Your technology, your resources. Imagine what could be achieved if they were used for progress instead of war. As Chen spoke, Zix 978 felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Hope. The human's words painted a picture of a galaxy united, not through conquest, but through cooperation. And my people, he asked, what will become of them? They'll have a choice, Chen assured him, to join us in building a better future or to remain isolated. But the days of the Zorgan war machine are over. With a heavy sigh, General Zix 978 made the hardest decision of his life. I agree to your terms. As soon as the words left his mouth, the force field disappeared. Chen stepped forward, offering her hand in a gesture of peace. After a moment's hesitation, Zix 978 reached out with one of his 4 arms and shook it. In that handshake, a new chapter in galactic history began. The conquest was over. The era of cooperation had begun. And it all started because a weak human soldier had shown an alien general the true meaning of strength. Days had passed since the surprising turn of events on the Conqueror. The massive Zorgan warship, once a symbol of fear across the galaxy, now drifted peacefully alongside the human fleet. On the observation deck, General Zix 978 stood beside Captain Sarah Chen, both gazing out at the stars. I still can't believe it, Zix 978 muttered, his voice a mix of awe and lingering disbelief. All this time, we thought we were the most advanced species in the galaxy. Chen smiled softly. There's always more to learn, General. That's a lesson we humans had to learn the hard way. The alien turned his 3 eyes to look at her. Tell me, how did your kind survive? The records said you were extinct. We nearly were, Chen admitted. Centuries ago, we almost destroyed ourselves with our own wars and technological advancements. It was a wake-up call. We realized that if we continued on that path, we'd either wipe ourselves out or become a scourge upon the galaxy like. She trailed off, but Zix 978 finished the thought. Like we became. Chen nodded. So we made a choice. We faked our extinction, retreated to the shadows of the galaxy. We spent generations learning, growing, watching other species. We swore we'd only reveal ourselves when we were ready to bring peace, not war. As they talked, members of both crews mingled on the deck below. Zorgan engineers marveled at human technology, while human scientists eagerly studied alien biology. The atmosphere was one of curiosity and cautious friendship. Look at them, Zix 978 said, gesturing to the mixed crowd. Yesterday, they were sworn enemies. Today they're colleagues, Chen finished. It's amazing what can happen when we put aside our fears and prejudices. A young Zorgan approached them, looking nervous. Excuse me, Captain Chen. We've managed to adapt some of your medical technology to work with our physiology. The results are incredible. Injuries that would have been fatal are now easily treatable. Chen beamed. That's wonderful news. Please, continue your work. Share your findings with the fleet. As the excited Zorgan hurried off, Zix 978 shook his head in wonder. You're freely giving us your technology, even after all we've done. Knowledge should be shared, not hoarded, Chen replied. That's another lesson we learned. Besides, a healthier Zorgan empire means a more stable galaxy. The general was quiet for a moment, lost in thought. Finally, he spoke. You know, when I first saw you, I thought you were weak. Small, soft, no natural defenses. I couldn't have been more wrong. Chen chuckled. It's a common mistake. Our strength isn't in our muscles or our claws. It's in here. She tapped her head. And in here. She placed a hand over her heart. "I'm beginning to understand that," Zix 978 said. "Your kind has shown more strength in forgiveness than we ever did in conquest." Suddenly, an alarm beeped on Chen's communicator. "Ah, it's time. The Galactic Council is assembling. Are you ready to address them, General?" Zix 978 straightened, squaring his shoulders. "As ready as I'll ever be. It's time the Zorgan Empire took its first steps towards peace." As they walked towards the council chambers, Chen placed a reassuring hand on the general's arm. "Remember, this isn't an end. It's a beginning. There will be challenges ahead, but we'll face them together." Zix 978 nodded, feeling a newfound sense of purpose. He, who had once led armies to conquer, would now lead his people towards peace. As they entered the chamber, filled with representatives from across the galaxy, he realized that this weak human had taught him the greatest lesson of all. True strength lies not in the ability to wage war, but in the courage to forge peace. And so, as General Zix 978 stepped up to address the council, he did so not as a conqueror, but as a learner ready to help shape a new future for the galaxy. The era of war was over. The age of understanding had begun.